Greetings, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Sunday Q&A. I've been rubbing my eyes all goddamn morning, which is why they're poofy as shit. By the end of the live stream, I'll look normal again. Welcome to Back to Work, bitches. Fingers are healing up nicely. I don't know if nicely is the word, but they're healing. They're better today than they were yesterday. Light this one on fire. Yeah, all is well. Everything's fine. I've got a couple of batteries on the charger. We are going to get this guy here all set up in Betaflight and back up in the air. This is a bat wing mounted, like, it's got like 5 degrees of up tilt. If you look really closely there, see there's like a tiny little bit of up tilt, but it flies like it's 0 up tilt. 0702 36,000 kV, 1.2 by 0.9 by 3 propped, little 2G4 AIO guy. On one hand, this is the high quality analog cinematic rig. On the other hand, why not fly it freestyle? I have a whole bunch of these, not a whole bunch, but I think I have a full extra set of these 0702 36,000s. So if I beat these all up and bend the motor shafts, that's okay. I can replace them. And I've always kind of wanted to fart around with some like 0 up tilt freestyle. So yeah, we'll play around with that. Fly these 3 batteries, see what's what. I want to get some work done on this 04 CineSplore as well. I decided last time I was working on it that I'm going to desolder all of the motor wires. I put the motor wires. I when I soldered on the motor wires, I wasn't thinking about the orientation of the ESC front to back, and I think I've changed my mind. Maybe not. It's if I change the orientation of all the motor wires, I also have to resolder the capacitor. And the capacitor is soldered 3 wires tall on a set of pads. The battery pads on this ESC have XT30 leads going out one side, XT60 leads going out the other side, and then the capacitor up on top. And the wires on the capacitor are just barely long enough for the capacitor to like tuck up under there. If I redo this, I'm gonna have to put this. I think the only spot for this capacitor is up here, and so I'm gonna have to run longer wires on it, which is admittedly kind of annoying. All just to get these battery leads into the middle. And so, yeah, that's kind of annoying, if I'm honest. But that's FPV. I got a lot of extra wire here too on this camera. What if I go like that? Is that a good thing to do? I'll like squiggle this wire back and forth and back and forth. Should I do that? That's an interesting thing to do, isn't it? They should make these MIPI cables in 18 different lengths. I have to go this way out around this standoff because it's got that funky angle in it. And then this will have ducts on it. So yeah, I can do this. This is fine. I don't think I'm going to resolder this. I think I'm just going to leave it as it is. It'll be fine. What really makes me not want to redo this is the capacitor. Having having to redo this capacitor and put big long wires on it sucks. And so I think I just convinced myself to just leave it alone and let these battery wires exit out the front and just move the hell on. Because this capacitor is set up damn near perfect. I just have to like tuck it right up under here. I got a little piece of VHB on it, and I just need to push it down, and there we go. Everything is cool now. Yeah, screw it. Let's just leave it like this. It's fine. This VHB doesn't seem very sticky anymore, though. Has it lost its stiction? Oh yeah, it's been out in the air too long. It's not sticky anymore. So I need to fix that. But yeah, I'd kind of convinced myself to... Nah, you don't care about that. I kind of want the battery leads to be out the back, and with this current setup, they can't really be out the back. Battery's gonna sit pretty much dead even here. Oh God, I really wanna. Decisions. The other thing that makes me want to reverse it is the orientation of the cables. I can run a really short... I'm not going to reverse it. I think I'm going to reverse it. I have to reverse it. I'm now remembering why I want to reverse it. This thing is not going to have a GoPro mount on it, and the GoPro mount usually protects the wires. Yeah. I have to reverse it. God, is that so annoying. I remember why. Yep, so we're going to reverse the motor wires on this, which is super annoying because it's just a complete waste of time. But once it's done, it'll be done. And it'll be a little bit better with it set up like that. And I might be able to fandangle something with this capacitor. Maybe I can just put it like right where it is right now. No, this thing smashes into it. This it is hard to find a spot for this capacitor. I don't love it. I don't love the process of in really tight frames trying to find a good little home for the capacitor. It might actually work there. I think I'm going to actually be able to make it work there. I'm going to leave it there and just smash it in. She's mashing it! Yeah, dude, I'm leaving it there. Screw it. I'm leaving it there. And then I just need a set of screws for this. Oh god, this is gonna be this 04 is gonna be hard to mount, isn't it? Are these M2? Boy, what a tangent we've gone on right off the rip here. What's the 04 held together with? 02? 04, 02? M2. M2. That's nice. M2. Or I can mount it upside down. They put these nice threaded holes up on top, so I could absolutely mount. Oh, but then this cable's going the wrong. I think I'm going to mount it upside down. Or downside up. Oh yeah, I'm mounting it upside down. Yep, because then I can use these pre-threaded holes here, which is just excellent. Yeah, so we're going to mount this downside upside down. That'll be fun. And then, well, that's great, because I got to pull this out of here anyway. And so now I just reverse this, and I go this way, and this way, and this way, and there. So it'll mount just like that, and then the plug header is up here on top. That's gonna have a really short little run, and yeah, cool. It's the logistics that get you every single time. There we go. So yeah, I just need to find the right length of screw here, put a couple of nuts to lift this thing up a little bit, and then shit, I still got to find a spot for the receiver. I guess I can fit the receiver up on top of this. There should be just enough room with this slammed down here as low as I can. Yeah, there's plenty of room for a receiver on top. Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's good to go. Maybe I should mount this first, because it is all the way. Yeah, I'm going to mount this. That's the first thing I'm going to do, is find the right length screws and get this guy mounted down here and secure, because all I need to do at that point is plug a plug header in here and then stick a receiver down on top. Excellent. And then and that'll also let me delay the nightmare that is desoldering all these beautiful motor leads and reversing them all. Yep. That's the plan. Stan. In the chat, Tamavo was first, Bad was next, the Bruce, Swiss Lynx, Uriel, PD Puff, Frank Nicholas, Douglas Six, Schnauzer FPV, Sober Life, Freebird, Bad, a feel for MYG, Brent Anderson, Proton to Go, Andrew Taylor, and Dave S. What's up, friends? I like this chair. If you want to talk directly to me in the chat, just type CiottiFPV. Bad says, evening, Ciotti. Hope all is well. The finger holds up today. Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there, man. see if it'll fuck us. Come on, you rat fuck. Ew. Ew. That's actually like, this has gone off the rails in a hurry. You guys didn't want like an actual live stream today, did you? A feel with a great question. He says, "What does D-Max do in the sliders to a quad?" Dude, awesome idea. So idea is not the word. Awesome question. D-Max is dynamic D-gain, sorta. Basically, when the PID controller goes off set point. Set point is what your sticks are telling it to do. So let's say you're cruising forward. Set point is keep cruising forward. If the wind hits it and it goes off set point, the PID controller pushes to get it back on set point, is a way to kind of think about it. The D-gain is the D-gain takes care of prop wash primarily. The D-gain damps. So the P-gain, the higher the P-gain, the quicker the error correction loop, the PID loop, is going to push against that error, right? So it goes up off set point. The higher the P-gain, the earlier it's going to push back against being off set point to get itself back to set point. The problem with P-gain is it's like just the springs on a car. And so if it pushes back in one direction, it'll overshoot, and then it'll push back in the other direction, and it'll overshoot, and it'll push back in the other direction. Just like if you've ever had a car where the shocks, the dampers, wear out, or if you've ever seen an old big-ass Cadillac or like a stupid Honda Civic on stupid suspension, just going down the highway, just doink, 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 doink. There is no D-gain on those cars. There's just P-gain. And the P-gain hits a bump, it goes up, it goes too far up, it comes back down, it goes too far down, it goes back up, it goes too far back up, and so it just oscillates, and it just bounce, 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 bounce. That's what P-gain does without D-gain. And so you go into prop wash, which is this turbulent air, and if it was just P-gain, it would be in this turbulent air, and it would also be overshooting. It would be a hot mess. What the D-gain does, what the dampers do on a car, is when you hit that bump, they slow things down. So you hit the bump, and then you slowly settle back to normal. The D-gain and dampers and shocks control the P-gain or the springs. They don't just let the springs bounce and bounce and bounce. They slow it down. On a car, they do that with a viscous liquid like an oil and a valve. There's a shaft that goes through the shock, and it has a valve on it. And the valve flows more in one direction than the other. But the valve, it flows. It's in a thick, oily kind of liquid. And so you can't just ram that valve down the shock body. It always slowly goes down the shock body. So it controls the spring. Otherwise, the spring is going to react too quickly. The D-gain does the same thing. It slows the P-gain down a little bit. So you're flying, the wind hits it, the P-gain pushes nice and early, and then the D-gain slows it down so that it slowly gets back to set point. Instead of overshooting set point and then overshooting back, overshooting back, overshoot, 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 overshoot. The D-gain slows it down. The higher the D-gain, the more aggressive it's going to slow it down. This is why I run a lot of D-gain. I love the way it looks when you, and this also happens when you just hammer the sticks. You're flying along and you hammer right roll. That is now off set point, and so the P-gain is going to try to catch up with what your set point is, right? It's now full right stick roll. So the P gain is going to quickly catch up. If you're holding right stick, it's going to keep spinning and spinning and spinning. You're not. Eventually, you're going to come back to center. And so when you come back to center, it's going to slow, with a lot of D gain, it's going to more slowly get to that center point. With not a lot of D gain, it's going to snap back to that center point. And it gives you that super twitchy, super racy, not cinematic at all kind of flight feeling. Whereas the D gain will slow it down. So it comes back nice and gentle and much more sort of pleasing to watch, in my opinion. D max is a variable D gain. And so if the quad sits down in the prop wash, the D gain can artificially go even higher when it's off set point. And so the D max is how high you're going to allow the D gain to go when the PID loop, when the error correction loop needs it. So when it's in prop wash, it needs as much D gain as possible because prop wash is quick and D gain is trying to slow it down. And when you slow prop wash down, it stops. And so D gain is really the main thing that fights against prop wash. It's fighting to turn this horrible looking situation into something that's a lot slower and more controlled. And so when you're in prop wash, it's good to have a lot of D gain. And D max allows you to do that. It allows you to have a shitload of D gain when it needs it most. But then when you're just cruising along and you're using the regular D gain amount, not the D max, the regular D term, you can have it be a little bit lower, which is a good thing. Because if you're cruising around, you don't want the D gain. The D gain causes a lot of motor heat. And so you, like, for me, I want, when I'm cruising, the D gain to be lower. And then when it's off set point, when it needs the D gain, I want it to ramp up. And that's what the D max does. There are folks that say that the D max is not quick enough and they don't like how it feels because it does change the amount of D gain dynamically. When you don't need it, it takes D gain out. When you do need it, it adds D gain in. So like the racers, for example, typically they don't run much, if any, D max. Some of the tuners just don't like it. It makes tuning a lot more difficult, right? Because the D gain is moving around. It's literally a moving target. So it's hard to get your regular D gain perfectly dialed in when the D max is on. Easy solution to that is to turn D max off when you're tuning and then turn it back on. I don't dive into black box logs like that. And so for me, I adjust the D gain. The D max is also a multiplier, right? And so like as you move your D gain up and down, the D max is also going to go up and down. So what I've found is that I put the D max up at a factor of 1.2, and that's a really good like general purpose kind of multiplier for it that works almost all the time. And then I can just move my D gain up and down a little bit. And that will also move the D max up and down, right? Because the D max is a multiplier. So the easy button is to set your D max, in my opinion, at 1.2. It's more aggressive than default. It works really well for me like that. It makes my flight footage look and the prop wash handling the way that I want it. And away we go. But that's what D max does. You'll hear a shocking number of tuners talk about turning it off. And I'm pretty convinced that's because most of those tuners are using black box logs. And when you're looking at black box logs, trying to get everything to match set point perfect, trying to get the quad's performance to match set point perfectly, if the D gain is moving around, that's really difficult because you're going to have like one move where you get it dialed perfectly, and then the next move, it's not going to be dialed perfectly. And so I think that yeah, I think that that's look, if you're doing a lot of work with black box logs, if that's what you enjoy, I totally get it. No wrong answers. I don't. You know, I come from the perspective of not using black box at all, tuning by what you can see and what you can hear, and just general knowledge over the years. For me, the end result of a tune is a quad that produces flight footage that looks the way that I want it to look. If it's off set point all the time, I don't care. As long as it's delivering the flight footage the way that I want it to look. That is top priority for me. And that goes against what... And sometimes that means that it is doing something different than my sticks. I tend to be a little bit too jittery, and I tend to like slam the roll or pitch and then slam it back to center. I do things in the tune that will smooth and soften that out a little bit. So like I use the tune to make the flight footage match what my brain wants, not necessarily what my fingers are doing. I also don't have like totally twitch free fingers. So I change my rates to soften up the center stick travel and the middle stick travel, because if I'm on the sticks and I'm moving a little bit, I want that to be as not noticeable as possible. And so, yeah, it's a different way of sort of approaching it, that racers don't like or understand, and that tuners typically don't like or understand. And that's okay, right? Like we're all different. We're all allowed to have our own methods of tuning and setting these things up, right? That's one of the most amazing things about Betaflight, is that it allows you to make this thing fly the way you want it, and the footage to look exactly the way you want it. You know, by having things like Dmax and anti-gravity and all the other extra stuff that Betaflight has that the other firmwares don't. Although in some form or another, most of the other firmwares have that stuff. There's just a lot less info on how to get it dialed in, and a lot less people flying them. So nothing wrong with the other firmwares. They're just not as good, and they don't have as much of a knowledge base, which makes it super annoying for me. Espander says, hello, gangly gang, and hi, CiottiFPV. The 04 unit is upside down. Well, it'll be right side up or upside down in a minute. More. Uriel says, do it. I'm playing my sim. If you need me, call out. Deal. Bad says, I come for knowledge. I stay for the insanity. ShootFPV says, do you think the 04 Lite is best on a 2S or 1S? Doesn't matter. I'm thinking anything more than 2S might as well go to 04 Pro. Yeah, I agree. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter 2S or 1S. Well, from a voltage standpoint, it doesn't matter. I see what you're asking. I see what you're getting at. You're getting at the weight of it. Is the extra 8 grams that the 04 Lite weighs best on 2S or 1S? Originally, when I read that, I was thinking like, oh, you know, it'll take 1S voltage from a 5 amp Beck, or it'll take raw 2S voltage. It doesn't matter which one you feed it. But you're asking from a weight standpoint. From a weight standpoint, 2S or even 3S, to be honest. Hell, I'm doing a 4S build with 04 Lite in the next like week or two. So yeah, on 1S, the 8 extra grams is an awful lot. It's doable, but it's a lot, and it's going to seriously impact runtime. You will not be able to build a 1S rig that flies for more than 3 minutes with 8 grams of dead 04 Lite weight on it. Unless maybe you do like a toothpick or something like that with like big ass bi-blades, but yeah, from like a whoop perspective, you won't be able to get more than 3 minutes of runtime unless it's like incredibly underpowered, which you don't want. So yeah, 2S is where 04 Lite, like you don't even notice it. On these 2S rigs, the 8 grams of 04 Lite just kind of disappears. And so yeah, 2S or 3S are where the 04 Lite is just brilliant. I'm doing I'm putting it onto a 4S rig because all the motors that I have are the right KV for 4S, and all the batteries that I have tons of 4S batteries. If there were good motors in a high enough KV, like 6 or 7,000 or 8,000, like a 1404 or 1304 or something like that, I would do this as a 3S build. And if I had a bunch of 3S batteries, but I don't, so I won't. PD Puff FPV says, my Mobula 704 is terrible with yaw washout. I don't have these problems with 75mm 04 1002 15,000 kV build. Will putting higher kV on the Mobula 7 help with yaw washout on power loops? I'm going to venture a Mobula 704. What motors are on the Mobula 704 is what I need to know. Tag me again. Burlak FPV says, I had to try some 1102s on a 2S 75mm. It was a riot, but way too loud for ripping around my yard. Really? 32,500 kV tree toppers really woke up the 1S 75mm. Finally has some punch on the throttle. Yeah. 30,000 plus kV 802s on 1S 75mm rigs. It's about as good as it's going to get for being on 1S. I'm shocked that you think that 2S makes it too loud. Everybody has a totally different sort of barometer for how loud is too loud, though. So I mean, that's okay. But in my opinion, 2S is super quiet. And I have but yeah, so you've found when I did 6 months of 1S 75mm experimenting and testing and probably like 30 live streams, the 30,000 what I had at the time were sort of custom 802 30,000s and 33,000s, and they were the best. I tried all the motors, 702, 603, 802, 1002, 1102, 803, 703. I tried them all. And at the end of all that, the 802, 30,000, and 33,000s were my favorite. They still weren't good enough, but they were definitely like the best of those options. The Betaflight 1102 22,000s were close, but they were a lot heavier. And they didn't have enough RPM for like a poppy kind of flight. And so, yeah, I didn't. And then I did a 2S 75mm rig, and I was ruined because it was just like, yeah. So, yeah, you found sort of the best of the 1S 75mm combos. And yeah, it's not bad. It's just not quite what I was looking for. I was looking for a little bit more jam. Petey Puff says RS 1102 10,000 kV. Okay, so it's a stock Mobula 704. So what you're running into is KV, right? You're comparing. It looks like you've got two pretty much identical rigs. One of them's on 1102 10,000 kV motors, and that one is not as good. The other one is on 1002 15,000 kV motors. So super obvious, right? Super obvious what's going on here is that the rig that you don't like as much has motors that have 50% lower KV, right? 15,000 versus 10,000. And so you either need to swap those 1102 10,000s out for, on the new 04 Mobula 7s, apparently they're doing 1102 14,000 kV motors. If you can get yourself a set of those, that would fix the problem. If you don't want to spend that much money, you need to put a more aggressive propeller on the 1102 10,000 kV motors. So if you're on HQ ultralight bi-blades right now, you need to go to the HQ ultralight tri-blades. And those are the props that I ran on mine, and it was pretty good. I was pretty impressed with the performance of the Mobula 704 with those 1102 10,000s on tri-blades. So if you're on bi-blades, definitely move to tri-blades. If you're already on tri-blades, that's kind of it. In the 45 millimeter prop world, we don't have much options. It's one of the most annoying things about it. And so, yeah, if you're already on these propellers, then you need to swap motors, and you need to swap out to a higher kV motor, similar to what you have on the other rig. Hope that helps. Cactus says, what boards do you use for 2S Whoop? I actually did an entire live stream where we talked about that. So if you come here and then you view somebody's channel, there's a little tiny kind of hidden magnifying glass. If you click that, you can search in just their channel. And if you search for best AIO, there you go. Best AIO for DJI 04 Lite 2S 75 millimeter builds. This is the live stream for you. We dive into it. If you're talking about an analog build, that link is in the chat now. If you're talking about an analog build, the Happy Model X12 is the way that I go on all of them. It's just, it just works. And it's durable. You can put it into the Mobula 7 version 3 or version 4 frame. It's just awesome. Burlak says, more the pitch and tone of the noise than level, I guess. Gotcha. If it's too high pitched, try motor limiting it and running a more pitchy propeller that has more blades. That'll bring the screechy sound down an octave. Phil Bradley says, thanks for suggesting the Mobula 8. It's by far the best whoop I've ever owned for outdoor flying. Great for ripping around the neighborhood. You're certainly welcome, dude. Yeah, for ripping around the neighborhood, a 2-inch whoop, if it's going to be a whoop, right? Like, at that point, arguably, you want to look at like a toothpick or something like that. But yeah, if you want to stay in a whoop frame, the bigger the better, right? Because their whoops are such a nasty aerodynamic. They have such a nasty aerodynamic situation with all this crap, right? It's got to push all this air from these from the ducts, from the guards, and so yeah, bigger is better. JZ1234 says, have you tried flying a 65 millimeter in 3D? I have not. Apparently, when you spin propellers backwards, you get so much less thrust that a 65 millimeter rig, to do a 65 millimeter rig in 3D, the inverted flight performance is pretty horrible. And I mean, on certain motors, it might not even make enough thrust upside down to not just slowly fall into the ground. I don't really have any interest in the 3D stuff, to be completely honest, though. I think it looks very awkward and very confusing in a world where our flight footage already kind of looks a little bit awkward and a little bit confusing. Because, you know, most flight footage is filmed with the horizon level on a tripod, much like what you're looking at right now. And so to cut back and forth between a nice stable shot like this and a shot where we're blasting forward at least 20 miles an hour is a little bit difficult. Well, if you now take that and flip it upside down, and like it becomes that much more insane. Is it super cool? Yeah, totally. I just don't like the way, like I said, I just don't like the way that it looks. And I consider myself to be a camera operator more so than like a fighter jet pilot, if that makes any sense. And so for me, and me alone, it's not my thing. If it is your thing, that's like, I love that. But personally, it's just not my deal. And that's okay. We're all allowed to have different likes and wants and needs. That's what makes us all happy little snowflakes. Some of us more than others. We if you've been around here for any amount of time, you know who the true snowflakes are. You know who they are. They make themselves very obvious. Some of them are very proud. Unfortunately, they're little boys, but you know, they're very proud. Fucking idiots. I need to fix the I don't know why I did this as an antenna solution. I ran the antenna forwards on this, and then I E6000 it down, and now it's like it's just like a hook trying to like hook itself on things, like that. So I need to figure this antenna situation out. I'm tempted to do like just a super simple little jib jab, but this is kind of like a cinematic analog rig, no props in view, and so I don't want one of these jank ass little antennas on it. And so I'm either gonna do this is one of Weebleed's ORT antennas. He's having them made with a 3 centimeter lead, and so this might be a cool way to do it. Put it back here. Oh yeah. Oh, that's it. That's what we're doing. We're doing this little guy off the back. The other option is these outrageously small little TrueRC jib jabs, but this one is actually a little bit too short, I think. This is the tiny whoop that we're going to fly today. It will put it right off the back like that, which is kind of cool, but what I'm worried about is it going down into the propellers, and I'm also worried about it getting broken in crashes. And so I don't think, and I could put it forward, but then again, it's going to try to get ripped off when I crash it nose in. So we'll do something. We'll do a little something with the antennas on that guy before we fly it. No, we won't. We're going to fly it as is because E6000 takes a couple days to cure. So we're going to fly it as is, and then after we're done flying it, I'm going to change the antenna out. That's what we're actually going to do. Wade Cloud with a $5 super chat. Thank you for the support, brother. It's beautiful people like you that allow me to do this full time. It's the only way I can do this good of a job at it. CiottiFPV.com has a million ways that you can support me. Patreon is the absolute best. $3 a month, 10 cents a day. You can get on board. You can be a gangly ganger. You can join the collective. Somebody out there has been thinking about joining the Patreon. Do it real quick, and I'll give you a shout out. And I'll love you long time. Wade Cloud says, does anyone know of another 1103 with 3-bolt pattern besides the Happy Model version? They're terrible on open prop builds. Split bells suck. Interesting. I just saw one the other day. Get out of here, fly. Oh, I can't clap because my hands are all jank. Let me see if I can get him. Oh, I hit him. Never slap down on flies. Swing above them. When you start to swing, they'll try to fly away, and they'll fly right into your hand. You're dead now, motherfucker. Oh, God. He's not dead. Oh, what do I do? Hold on. He's almost dead. I have a lot of compassion for all animals. So does Maggie. It's so funny. Maggie's the same way. We have a lot of compassion for animals other than flies and mosquitoes. Flies and mosquitoes can absolutely just go to hell forever. I feel zero sadness massacring as many of them as possible. Look at that, man. Fucking swatted a legitimate fly out of the air. Motors by size 11 glip glop. 1103. Okay, so here's one. But I think this might have a 4-bolt base. It does. You know what you want? You want a 1003. Oh! Nope. That's 1102. Here's the Happy Model 1103. This is another 4-mount base. Yeah, all the other 1103s have 4-hole mount bases. You don't want these. So yeah, do a 1003. You've still got like 3 1/3 to 1 ratio of width to height, so you'll be fine there. RC and Power makes them for you. Yeah, so RC and Power makes a 1003 10,000 kV. I think they also make a 14,000 kV, but it's really hard to find. And then they make like an 18, or no, they make a 22,000 kV. So regardless if you're 1S or 2S, you'll be good to go. Yeah, this is what you want. RC and Power, 1003, and then pick your kV. RC and Power, 1003, 14,000 kV. Who the hell sells it? GetFPV sells it, but I think it's sold out at the moment. There it is. No, it's not. I really want to buy a... Oh, this is a 1002. Hold on. Oh, balls. 10,000 and 18,000 here on GetFPV. I could have sworn there was a 14,000 kV 1003. There it is. AliExpress. That sucks a bag of donkeys. So they do make it. They do make it. You're just going to have to wait 100 days and nights for it. And you might get tariffed back to the 17th century. Thanks a lot, Drumpf. You piece of trash. Hey, there's also a Flywoo Robo. That's right. That's the other thing that I was surprised by the other day. Flywoo Robo 1003, 14,800 kV. I really... If I can't find the RC and Power in stock stateside, I will not order it from AliExpress. I will order these Flywoo Robos instead. They're $1.50 cheaper on race day quads. Yeah, this could be the perfect motor for like a 2-inch 04 2S Tiny Whoop. Or plenty of open prop kind of stuff. So yeah, go with the 1003, brother. And thank you for the support. Levster says, hey everybody. FPV says, do you have a stream setting up a brand new AIO 5? I've been trying to get mine to fly for a month. This time everything is brand new and it still won't fly. I do indeed. Oh, I didn't mean to close that tab. Let me open that tab back up. I do indeed. Just search my channel for AIO 5. I have a couple streams with the AIO 5. And if you look for the oldest stream with it, that'll be the one where I set it up from scratch. I had some weird stuff with my AIO 5 as well, but I just kept pushing and eventually I got it going. Cool. Hey, as a reminder, speaking of 1003s, I've got a set of those RC and Power 1003s for sale in 22,000 kV. I put like 3 batteries through them, so they are absolutely brand new. And what's cool about these actually is they have a mounting pattern on the bottom that works for both 3-bolt and 4-bolt. Kind of cool. So yeah, if you're looking to do a 1S build and you want 1003 22,000s, I got you covered. I also have this HD. This is stuff that's like next. I'm going to be taking pictures of and listing next on Etsy. So like if you beautiful bastards that hang out on these live streams want them, you can get first crack at them. I believe this is the 90 frame per second HD0 camera. Don't quote me on that. And the board that goes along with it. So if you're interested in this, let me know. Anybody. I found my Hero 8. For whatever reason, I thought that I didn't have a Hero 8 anymore, and I was trying to give away one of the batteries for it. But yeah, I have a Hero 8, and I don't know what to do with it. On one hand, I'm kind of tempted to hack it up and do a naked GoPro with it. On the other hand, there's like a 30% chance that in the process of doing that, I'll ruin it. And so that makes me kind of want to just sell the damn thing with three batteries and an extra door. And so, yeah, I don't know. If you're in the market for a GoPro Hero 8 that's like spotless, let me know. I'll probably sell it to you for whatever they sell, for a little bit less than what they sell for on eBay. Yeah, like this doesn't have a scratch on it. Let me know. Because I don't know what to do with it. I haven't used it in a while. It was kind of like my backup GoPro it was my main GoPro for a while, and then when I went to the 12, it became my backup GoPro. The problem with it as a backup GoPro is that it doesn't fit in any of the mounts that the 12 mounts, and so it's a terrible backup GoPro. So I would kind of rather sell it and then put that money towards another 12, or to be honest, at that point, what I would do, like an idiot, is buy an Action 5, and then I'd have to get different mounts for that. But then if I liked the Action 5, I would then sell the Hero 12 and get another Action 5. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to have a Hero 8 anymore. Boy, would it make a good naked GoPro, though, you know? Hey, Wade Cloud says, I tried the 1003 Robos, but the prop shaft isn't thick enough for me. The props just spin. I'll try the RC Power. Thanks. Thank you for saying that. That would drive me insane as well. I am closing that tab. Hey, can you do me a huge favor, Wade? If you can find those RC Power 1003 14,000s in stock stateside, please do let me know, because I'm very curious about them. I don't know if I'm curious enough to buy a set, but yeah, I would like to know that it's a possibility. I'm really happy with the Happy Model 1103s. If you have any Happy Model 1103s that are still in good shape, I'll buy them off you. And if you want these 1003, you probably don't, 1003 22,000s, we could do a trade with some money on top or whatever. But yeah, if you're gonna get rid of those Happy Model 1103s, don't throw them away. Let me get them. You can FPV says, no, we got that. Tamava says those Robo 1003s are what comes on the Fly Times and Allen's solid motors. Bad says, I'm currently running 1102 14,000 kV on my 85mm 04. Do you think swapping to 1003 would make a big difference? Yes, huge difference. A 2mm tall stator and a 3mm tall stator, it's going to be night and day. It's 50% more stator height, and the stator height is what does the majority of the work. So not only is it like 50% taller, but the height is what makes the majority of the power. So yeah, there'll be a huge difference between even though you're losing 1mm of width, the width you're going like 9% smaller, but 50% taller. And that 50% taller is where all the work is done. The vertical part of the windings, the vertical part of the stator, is what pulls the magnet along. The width of the stator is going to give you a mechanical torque advantage, but that pales in comparison to using electricity to pull the actual magnet around. That being said, a 3mm tall motor is going to pull a bunch more power. So there's the potential that you're going to lose a significant amount of runtime, but you're going to gain, you know, a bunch of power. And like, if you just don't use that extra power, right? If you just cruise around, you'll probably get around the same flight times. You'll be dragging around extra weight, so you'll never get the exact same flight time. But yeah, you won't with a 1003 versus an 1102. If you take off and you fly around at like 30 or 40% battery the entire time, you'll have very similar run times. If you go and you freestyle and you use a bunch of full throttle, that 3mm tall stator is going to gobble down a bunch more power, but you're going to get a shitload more thrust. And what's interesting about that is that you'll end up using full throttle less. Well, hopefully. That kind of depends on you. If you're going to go out, like when I fly out front, I don't just go full throttle with these things and hammer it up into the clouds. I fly it in the bushes and I power loop the bushes, and then I fly it up to the bottom of like the tree canopy and I hang out there, and then I come back down, and like that's it. I fly the same area. I fly the same 3D space, whether or not it's a small motor or a big motor. And so with a big motor that makes a lot of power, I'm going to do a shorter throttle blip to fly in this same amount of 3D space. On a smaller, less powerful motor, I'm going to do a longer full throttle blip. And so the run times are actually pretty similar in that scenario where you fly the same 3D box. A lot of people, when they get a big power motor, they go out into the street where there's no trees overhead and they just hammer it. And they hammer it for the same amount of time that they normally do. And now they're higher in the sky. And they look down, they're like, whoa, the houses are smaller. That was fun. Nothing wrong with that. In that scenario, though, the bigger, more powerful motor, with the same amount of time on the throttle, right, it's going to use a bunch more power. You're going to get a lot less of a runtime. So always keep that in mind with runtime, friends. It's super easy to put a more or less powerful motor on and then to fly in a way that really drastically changes the efficiency that you're seeing between those two motors. When you're testing motors, you want to have this 3D box that you don't leave, and you want to try to fly in that 3D box in a similar sort of way. Does that make sense? CiottiFPV says, it's been kind of a nightmare, mainly because I soldered the stupid motor plugs on. Now it fits like no frames. Yeah, I remember that. I have it toilet tank style in an Air 2 frame right now. Yeah. Sorry, brother. Let's do some tiny whooping for the first time in a while now. Talha says, I purchased the RC and Power 1002 for my 2S 75mm 04 build, but it has way too much power. When I power limit it, it still has way too much power. Any recommendations? It depends. My recommendations are going to depend upon what KV you bought. But 1002 on a 75mm 04 build, that shouldn't have too much power. It depends on the all-up weight. 19,000 kV. That's a tough one, man. I've had that exact, not that exact KV, but I've had that exact motor limited down. Wait, no, I do have, I've had that exact combo, and for me, it doesn't have way too much power. I mean, the easy thing to do is to get the same, that motor is kind of, that's the right motor size, in my opinion. I think they make that motor, I know they make that motor in 14,000 kV. That's probably your best bet. It really sucks to buy a motor in too high of a kV and then have to buy a lower kV, but that's the right answer. If you go to a smaller motor, you're going to be going to like an 802, and now the motor is going to get a little bit too hot for that weight of a build. So 1002 is the right motor size. It'll stay nice and cool to give you super consistent flight, but 19,000 kV is a lot. Is a lot. I like it. I love that. But you're talking about it's kind of a Cinewhoop, and so yeah, same motor, one step down in kV. Hang on to those 19,000s though, because someday the lower kV ones might not have enough power for you, and then you've got those 19s. I've got to put. I don't have stack mounting screws in this, which is weird that I would do that, but let's fix that first. Do I have any sitting here? Of course not. All right, into the bin we go. Into the stash we go. Anybody watch Speed Academy? Any true car nerds in the chat that watch Speed Academy? It is one of, if not my favorite, car-based YouTube channels. And one of the two hosts has what he calls the stash, which is just like many years of random car parts that he's saved because he knows they'll come in handy someday, and they almost always do. And it's always fun when and there's a lot of like old kind of super cool vintage parts that he's got in the stash. But like at some point in damn near every episode, they'll be like, Pete went to the stash and found this, which fits perfect. And it always kind of makes me laugh. When you've been into something for a long time and you're a bit of a hoarder, you will develop many stashes. And like people on the outside will look at your stash obsession and be like, wow, you're a fucking crazy person. But then people that are in the know will see your stash and be like, oh my God, you're a fucking genius, and I'm so jealous of your stash. It's funny how that works. You know what I'm saying? You guys know what I'm saying. You guys have stashes. I fucking know it. I know you have stashes. Your stashes are just as bad as mine. BMF Spade says, I sent you an email about your GoPro Hero 8. Awesome, dude. I want it to get used, man. It just sits here. It's kind of silly. So yeah, like again, I'm super tempted to make a naked GoPro out of it, but boy is it hard to justify taking a perfectly good GoPro that works, hacking it to bits, and a GoPro that has a value of, I don't know, at least $200, right? So take $200 and then take a 30% chance that you'll just light that $200 on fire and it will cease to exist forever, right? Which is what happens when you try to make one of these a naked GoPro and you fuck up, which is apparently still very common. And then even if you're successful, right? So that 60% chance of you, 66% chance of you being successful or whatever. Even if you are, and you get it into the naked GoPro frame and you start flying it, like a lot of these naked GoPros, the first time you crash them, they explode. And so, and again, there's your $200 just lit on fire. So like, I don't know, man. It would be really cool to have a naked GoPro and all, but like, I crash. And for a crash to cost me $200 would make me absolutely murder everyone and everything in sight. And, I try my best to do things that keep me, if nothing else, if absolutely nothing else, I try my best to stay out of jail. As just a general kind of rule, like just in life, Rule number 1. Don't go to jail. And so it's tough. You know, it's a tough one. All right, we got some screws in. Let's throw this in the Betaflight and get these motors spinning the right direction. And then we'll fly it, and then we'll figure out the antenna situation after we're done frying it. Yeah, where's that other... Hold on. I might steal an antenna from another build. I have a build with the other little tiny TrueRC antenna. Where the hell is it? Ah, it's this one. Oh, it's the Newbie Drone Hummingbird V2. This has the slightly longer TrueRC antenna. I might actually steal the antenna off this guy. I'm probably going to steal the antenna off this guy. I'm stealing the antenna off this guy. Right now. Yep. This is the antenna that I want to use. Get off of there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is the one. So, this antenna... Oh, yeah. That's the one. So, with that antenna there, that sits perfectly. And then this can kind of sit up a little bit. It'll stay out of the props. The alternative is... I gotta remember to put an antenna back. You know, no, I'm just gonna throw one of these super light antennas on here just so I don't forget and fly this thing around like a donkey. Hey, when you're plugging UFL antennas in, I got news for you. Put your nerd goggles on. And the frustration that is always involved in trying to get a UFL antenna properly plugged in without putting it on there crooked or sideways, which you can actually really fuck up the UFL by putting it in there just exactly wrong and getting frustrated and mashing it in at an angle. Yeah, don't do that anymore. And also, if you've got a tiny whoop that you unplug an antenna from, don't let it sit without an antenna plugged in because you'll forget and you'll fly it. And you can very easily cook the VTX if you do that. Yeah, see, like I can't get this. I don't have the nerd goggles on, and I'm struggling to get this UFL plugged in. Let's try again. Nope. See? Ready? All right. And so now nerd goggles. And so now take this. Put this here. Oh shit, Maggie home. Put that there, get it lined up properly this time. And there it is. Just like that. Maggie's tattoo is all healed. You guys want to see it? Hurry up. Hurry up and post in the chat that you want to see it. Unless you don't. You don't have to. But I could probably convince her to come over here. It's pretty dope. I gotta be honest. Cool. Newbie Drone Race V2 is back. And so, yeah, we're going to use this antenna for sure. This is the shortest TrueRC little guy, and then this is one length longer. This is actually a little too short, in my opinion, for this. Hey, baby. The people want to see your tattoo. Huh? The people want to see your tattoo now that it's healed. Right now. What are you carrying? What do you got?
Groceries.
Oh, shit.
Hi, buddy. You want to see the tattoo? All right,
Yay! Oh, you're looking all nice, too. I love that shirt. My God.
Nice. Am I?
Yeah. Stop it. Jesus.
I always forget what's... Okay, there's the camera. Huh?
Look at this one.
So I want to see.
Look at this shit.
If
Oh
they can
my
see it up close.
god.
So we'll do like, all right. So it
No, I
goes-
got you covered.
Wait, which way am I going? Here we go.
Ready?
Yeah. What are you doing? Oh.
Look at this, man. Look how cool this is. My god.
There's this. We gotta go this way. There's my little bird. My magpie. And then I guess in the back here. Yeah. Teddy likes it too. Here we go. I gotta get
What a shit show. Oh,
now you're all on
goddamn
Teddy. I see
dog.
what you care about most. Hey,
Yeah,
bud.
yeah.
Mommy's baby. Yeah. Well, there you go.
There it is, friends.
Talking about my tattoo.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
She is. She's been debating. The original plan was to get color as well, and she's been debating whether or not to do that. She's got an appointment for like November, I think, but digging it without. So maybe it'll just stay like that. Alexander Lewis Hughes says, haven't been on an EU stream in a bit. Hope you're well. Jim Bob says, link to those head-mounted magnifiers. Just type it into Amazon or eBay. Just type like head-mounted magnifying. There's a million of them. And they all look, not all of them, but a million of them look exactly like those. They all work really well. Apparently readers too. You can just go to like the pharmacy or whatever and get a pair of reading glasses. And those supposedly accomplish the exact same thing, and they're probably more comfortable. That's what I'm going to try next time I can remember. You Can FPV says, what's the setup on this whoop? This is 2G4 Batwing CO3 0702 36,000s 1.2 by 0.9 by 3s. Cockroach 65 V3 frame, of course, because that's the frame that you need for the Batwing mount. Cole Power says GoPro Bones is a Hero 10 that's pre-naked. Don't you have one? I do, and I'm going to be using it thanks to Frank Nicholas, who sent this over. He wasn't using it. I'm going to be using this at a gig on Wednesday. Actually, hey, by the way, maybe stream on Wednesday. Probably no stream on Wednesday, because yeah, this is going to get run on this 2.5-inch rig at a gig, and so we'll see how it is. I'm terrified that I'm gonna forget to hit stop and I'm just gonna pull the power and lose my flight footage, but I can always just fly it again. Bolilo says, I broke my TrueRC antenna so fast, broke one of the fins off on the second flight. Jesus. The fins broke off, huh? I've been really worried that it's going to break here between the PCB and the wire. One of the really nice things about the ORT antennas is that they're thin between the wire, and so you can put this little piece of shrink wrap. So, like, the ORT antennas are still my go-to, and there's a chance that I'll... Yeah, see, it's just... The ORT antenna is just a little too long. If it was, like, ever so slightly shorter and it would tuck in there, that would be perfect. But yeah, I love how light these are, but the fins broke off. That is not totally surprising. Jesus, the fins are really... I never even noticed how thin these are. Jesus. Well, hell, I don't know if I'm going to use this now, because on this particular build, it's going to be hanging out, and so it's going to, like, hit stuff, even though this is kind of like a cinematic build. How were you flying it like hard freestyle? Euro says, colors fade too quickly. I like it like that. A little bit of color, maybe. Yeah, it's funny. Uriel, exactly on the money. Red, the Aurora of the Crow. That was the... That is like the main kind of thing. If she gets like just a little bit of color, it'll just be that. It'll just be red in the little sun around the crow. But she's got a couple friends that went to the same tattoo artist, and theirs are colored in, and they're just so cool. And how long has Emma had that? Just a couple?
Yeah.
Not like 10 years?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
And
So
mine hasn't faded at all.
Emma's
Gorgeous.
still looks awesome, but yeah, a couple years versus 10 or 15 or 20. But I mean, obviously you can go and get colors touched up and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Balila says I was going a little too hard inside, I think. Okay, fair enough. Uriel says tattoos are addictive. All right, Tiny Whoop. All right, let's get this 2G4 into Betaflight real quick, get these motors spinning the right direction, and then we'll do some 5-degree up tilt freestyle flying and see what's what. Okay. It's 420, friends. The weed number. Do whatever you want. Balilo says ORT is the way for full tilt. Yeah, I mean, this is more of like a cinematic rig, so I can probably get away with the TrueRC. Motors. And let's get a battery plugged in. And away we shall go. Okay. Motor direction. I understand the risks. Oh, wait, no. So I have this ESC mounted in here backwards. So really quick, let's just spin up motor 1. Nope, it's in the wrong spot. So we're going to stop motors. I need to reorder the motors first. Start. And so that's the left front that's spinning. That's the left rear that's spinning. That's the right front. And this is the right rear. Save it. All right. And nose down. I also need to rotate in here. 270 needs to become 90. Save and reboot. And connect. Nose down, nose up, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right. Good to go. Motors tab. Let's try this again. Nope, yep, that's motor 1. Motor 2, correct. 3, correct. 4, correct. I can feel that 2 of them are not making thrusts in the downward direction, though, so we do need to do the motor direction. Understand the risks. Wizard, start and spin. Motor number 1 is correct. Motor number 2 is correct. That's super weird. 3 is correct. But 4 is wrong. Only 1 motor is wrong. That is super odd. 1, 2, 3. And motor 4 refuses to reverse. So we're going to have to do it in the ESC configurator. So connect. Great. Read. And so we just need to reverse motor 4. And that's super weird. Normal, reversed. I don't quite understand how or why that happens, but whatever. Now we're good to go. Disconnect. I don't even need to go back into Betaflight. Cool. This thing is ready to fry. Let's do it. Transmitter. Powering up. And let's get these fat sharks on my big silly face. See if the VRX... Wow, VRX is still working. Look at that. It's like I haven't flown on the stream in like an entire week. Ended up swapping a wire in the motor. Nothing wrong with that. I think that's my issue. I didn't know that individual motors could be reversed. Yeah, man, that's the old school way of doing it. It's arguably a better way of doing it because then you don't have to screw around with the software at all. All right, here we go. Wait, I gotta plug a battery in, huh? I flew like 1 battery when I was all mangled. And it was really difficult. Hopefully things are a little bit better right now. Oh yeah, I can tell. My finger doesn't just... ache as soon as I wrap it around the bottom of the controller. So, with low up tilt... Oh, for fuck's sake. With low up tilt, flying very slowly is a breeze. Aye. But it's super extreme. Like, if I want to go fast... Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh. That is ridiculous. It was perched up on top of there. That's insane. Wow, this is super difficult to adjust to. So if I want to go fast, I'm going to look down at the ground a lot. See that? And it's kind of hard to see where you're going. Like, I'm having to shift my eyes all the way upwards. Also, the way that roll and yaw mix is quite different at different up tilts. And so I'm having to kind of adjust there as well. What's really cool, though, about zero up tilt is that it makes flying backwards a lot easier because you have all this in view. And so you can just shred backwards. Hey! But man, what an adjustment. I'm very used to like 20-ish degrees of up tilt. This is super fun though. If you haven't flown zero up tilt before, you need to do it. It'll really make you appreciate what up tilt does. Oh, this is Maggie's new couch. See that? Like I can just let Teddy nose boop the tiny whoop kind of non-stop with zero up tilt. Maggie is also on my old laptop, which is super cool, and my little dock, which is pretty awesome. Oh, she's got stickers on it already? Hell yeah. Oh, good. She left the Stay Weird sticker on it. I love that. Look at the CO3 just jamming. What's that bottom sticker? We know that top sticker. What's this bottom one? Ah, queerfully and wonderfully made. Hell yeah. I wonder what a full room... Ooh, that's pretty cool looking. Big hit of prop wash. Let's see if we can get that out of there. So, that prop wash can potentially be solved with... So there's D-Max up at 1.2, which is pretty good. D-gains are at 1.6. That's pretty aggressive already. Yeah, that's a lot of D-gain already. Let's move D-Max up. I don't usually move D-Max up, but let's... What the hell, you know? Look at this guy. Bouncing up and down in ground effect there. Oh shit, this battery's done. Where's my low battery warnings, yo? What the hell? Oh, fuck. Nope. Wow, I ran that battery way too low. Why'd the low battery warnings wait so long? Oh yeah, this current antenna setup is no good. The head of the antenna went directly into the prop guard here. Yeah, this is a terrible setup for the antenna. I'm gonna plug this thing back into Betaflight and fix the low battery warnings because that's insane. I'm gonna ruin batteries from that. Man, it's been a while since I've flown around here zero up tilt. That's mind-blowingly difficult. Let me go into the... Let me also real quick go into the Lua script and turn the output power down a little bit. on Express LRS. On this Nomad, rather. It's only on 250. But, I mean, I don't need 250 in here. Let's drop it down to 100. That'll turn the fan off. Yeah. Cool. Exit. All right. Oh, yeah. Whoa, that made a huge difference in the... this was at, like, 6.9... This is at, like, 6.9 volts. And I turned it down, and it bumped all the way up to 7.2. Fan's still running on the Nomad, though. Oh, there it goes. Turns off. One of the really cool things in there is that it lets you adjust the fan threshold. I have the fan threshold set to 250. And so it was running the fan the entire time there. But now that I changed that, it shut it off. Yes, warnings. Let's fix the warnings. I also want to crank each motor up to make sure that they're all making the same RPM. It feels like it has good power, but that's just one of those checks. Man, now that I'm thinking about safety stuff, it is absolutely insane how nice it is to fly Tiny Whoop. Like, I could just hold this fucking thing and spin them. I don't have to take the props off. Like, it's a joke. Like, this is so nice to live with this and to, like, you know what I mean? Power and battery. Oh my god, minimum cell voltage 2.9. Who the hell thought that was a good idea? 3.1 and 3.3. What in the Sam Hill? What in tarnation? There we go. That's better. PID tuning. Man, this thing sat down into prop wash like a son of a bitch. Yeah, I got that D-Max cranked up. We'll see what that does. How quickly and how early the D-Max increases the D-gain is controlled right here with the dynamic damping, gain, and advance. And the tooltips tell the story. The gain, the gain adjusts how quickly the D-gain values will, how early the D-gain values will start to increase. And then the advance controls how... Oh, wait, no. The advance is for stick inputs, and then the gain is for, like, prop wash, basically. Yeah, the tooltips explain it. I run these at 30, and that seems to work pretty well. Oh my god, I'm just taking a quick check of a bunch of this stuff. Oh, I have a bunch of feed forward on this. Let's turn that down a little bit. I don't like how sharp feed forward makes these things. CMYK says Sunday Fun Day. You can FPV said, oh no, we got that. All right, cool. Good. Warnings are fixed. I will not destroy this next battery. Let's see if I can adjust a little bit more to 0 up tilt. Well, like 5 degrees of up tilt. A little bit of up tilt. Here we go. CO3 looking like a cutie on this thing. You know what I'm saying? Ting-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Oh, wait, no. Let's go into turtle mode, and we're just going to fire each motor up individually. Make sure they make the same tone. Whoa! Left rear ESC is on its way out. I can tell because when I go when I go full throttle too quickly, it judders and shit. So yeah, this AIO is on its way out, but hey, that's life. Let me just reseat the motor plug. That could potentially help, but probably not. All right, whatever. It's good enough. Getting used to low up tilt. Let me do that full room power loop again. We'll see if it's any better. I mean, I probably won't perfectly sit it. Yeah, see, that on that first battery, A, the battery was getting low, but B, I like perfectly sat it down into its own turbulent air. That one just now, there was no prop wash at all. It was a flying thing. I didn't sit it perfectly down into its own wash. You got to be careful with like doing prop wash turns. If you get good enough at prop wash turns, you can like put it into kind of an unrealistic scenario. Is what I'm trying to say. Man, it's so strange flying with 0 up tilt. It's just such a thing. A little bit of wash there. Let me see if I can push the D-gain up a little bit. Made a couple little changes down here. Move that little iPad arcade cabinet over there. I don't necessarily know if I like it over there, but I do like this. I do like... This is my fancy faux Alcantara sim racing steering wheel rim. Profile, simplified tuning. Let's see if it'll... Let's see if it can handle that much PID gain. Yep. Yep, it's alright. Motors are coming down. Oh! Oh! Oh, we can rip. Uh-oh. Get off. Get out of there. Oh, no. It doesn't feel like it has great power. I think it's because that left rear. It should have more power on these motors. But that motor number 3, I think, is being fed by a ESC that's on its way out. Yeah! Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh! Oh, boy, we're ping-ponging. Those motor warnings are still a little bit too low. 3 minutes and 8 seconds. I'm going to bump those up a little bit more. I like to land at 3.5 volts of like static sort of hovering. And these values that I have on here are just a little too low for that. By the time I see the warning, I'm a little too low. Euro says, that tent, is that the place for your timeout? No, that's, we got that tent for Christmas, and I wanted to open it up and just like test it out or whatever. And so the kids were having, Little Bo was having a sleepover, and I set it up in the living room, and then a couple of Sage's friends were coming down from New Jersey and needed a place to stay. So then I put it up on the loft there. That's why the air mattress is in there. And I don't know, it just we don't do much in that loft. That loft is like kind of wasted space, unfortunately. And so like it's just up there now. And I mean, I'll take it down eventually, but it's just kind of cool to have it up there. Don't Touch the Door says, thanks for the hour and a half long Matty Flip tutorial. Helped me out a lot, LOL. You are certainly welcome, dude. I think I did that on the stream a couple weeks ago, right? We dove into matty flips. I said we dove into matty flips. See what I did there? I didn't do it on purpose. I'm not that clever. Cool. Last battery on this little fella. And then we'll dive into the CineSplore. Although, shit, it's 440 already. My God. Not going to do much on the CineSplore, but we'll at least mount that 04 air unit. And then I'll do a bunch more on my time. Yeah, these motors should be making way more power. Well, you know what? No. The best way to troubleshoot this would be to take motor 3 off and switch it with one of the other motors. And if the problem chases, it's a motor issue. It won't. It's an ESC issue, and so the problem will stay on that corner. But that's how we would. That's the most efficient way to begin that troubleshoot. Oh God! This right here is what these rigs do best. Low ass elevation. Hey. Just put it in ground effect and let it eat. Last night I ate Selena Gomez. Ziz Oreos. Selena Gomez has cinnamon Oreos, and the combination of cinnamon with vanilla cream kind of tastes like horchata. And so you too can take a bite out of Selena Gomez. You just have to go to the store. Ziz Oreos. You just have to go to the store. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that giant power loop with this thing. I can do lots of other stuff, though. That was pretty dope. That was hot shit. Hey! Ah! No! This is such a small little area. Ah! The wall's right there. What else can I do in here? I want to try to matty flip into and out. That's exactly what I was trying to do. Uh-oh. Come on. Nope. Nope. Oh, maybe. Oh, never give... Never give up! Never! Never give up, my friends. Never walk to get it. Man, a lot of these moves have a different look with zero up tilt. That's really cool. I like that a lot. I was trying to really force that matty flip. Uh-oh, things are dark. Hey. Did I not move those warnings? Why am I not getting... Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's good. That's fine. 3 minutes and 13. This is interesting to fly this around. I'm gonna leave this out and do a little bit more of this. This is kind of fun. Low up tilt freestyle, practically zero up tilt freestyle. That's fun. I gotta remember to do more backwards flying. That's what low up tilt does really, really well. This battery, I accidentally left it on the charger, and it's all the way up at 418. Let's fly it down real quick. Real quick, like. Here we go. Different. Ah! The low elevation stuff is so much fun on these builds. So this is basically the RC. This is an RC. I forgot to mention this. This is an RC drift car chasing rig. Oh my god. And usually I don't fly these freestyle because it's kind of abusive. And I don't want them to have jello. But I have a bunch of these. I have a bunch of these motors. So what the hell? Let me check if the camera's sitting flat. It kind of seems like the camera's not sitting flat. It's not. The camera twisted. How is that possible? The mount pushes the camera back against the... Oh, I see. Yeah, the camera absolutely twisted in the mount. I didn't think that could happen with the way that this... Oh, it's because it's a CO3. The CO3 camera being narrower, it is absolutely able to twist on here. That's kind of annoying. It wouldn't happen if I wasn't bouncing it off the walls, but still, that's good to know. All right, that should be even now. That looks much more flat. Let's see how it feels. Much better. Oh yeah, so the reason I put this extra cube here is that. I can't believe I just did that so quick. Yeah, I realized that this cube lines up with this cube. We knew that, but then we can put another one here and create another level of... Oh, that's so good. I really like that. I don't like this cube here from the perspective of, like, trying to make a straight path from here into this. Like, it's kind of in the way for that. But boy, is it cool to be able to... I guess I can do it this way as well. Yeah. That's fucking awesome. I love that. Alright. Bring this battery down. Sweet! I can fly again! That's pretty nice. That feels good. CMYK says that's a 3D cam setup. Yeah, pretty much. Alright, good to go. And let us put an antenna on this that's not going to be a mess like the one currently is. And then we'll dive into the CineSplore real quick. But let's take a super quick look at antennas on this guy. I want something short and but that's not going to get hung up in the propellers. And so this ORT setup is bad, and I'm going to remove it. I had just E6000 it down there. Let me just get that little blob of E6000 out of here. Kind of leave it. There we go. Hopefully there's no components stuck to it. Now we're good. All right, so the antenna port is back here because I have this thing mounted in here front to back. I did that because the bat wing with the camera adds a bunch of weight to the front of this. By putting the battery lead in the front like this, when I put the battery in here, I can push the battery back and more of the battery sits in the rear. So it fixes the center of gravity front to rear. And so 3 options. The second to shortest length TrueRC puts the little head of the antenna all the way back here, which is super cool. So, yeah. So this TrueRC second length has that like that, which is kind of slick. I like that this clears that and kind of tuck, but like there's a bunch sticking up. So when it flips upside down, it's going to be pushing on that, which I don't love. Option 2 is the shortest and lightest, and that has similar kind of situation where like this is here and now this is going to be sticking up. So every time it flips upside down, it's going to be pushing onto this. I can probably like twist these a little bit, but that's going to put stress on this. The other option is the 3 centimeter ORT Micro V, and that's going to hang it all the way out in the back. The problem with that is this can go like that. I could just like put a little blob of E6000 and on this back standoff, and then it can't really reach. And I have a funny feeling that's what I'm going to do, because this is now totally out of the way and it'll sit totally flat. You know what I mean? It's never going to... And I mean, this is strong. The ORT Micro V is nice and strong. I'm all worried about these little TrueRC guys breaking. These TrueRC guys will probably fit underneath a canopy. You could probably like jam these on a normal freestyle build. You can probably get these guys up. Oh yeah, look at that. It even peeks through the bottom hole of the old school Mobula 6 canopy. Actually put it through that middle. Oh yeah, yo, okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna save these TrueRC guys for these canopies. This is amazing. I really, really, really like that. So I'm gonna hold on to these, and I'm gonna do this guy, and then I'll just put a little blob of E6000 on the back here, secure that down, and then once that's secured down, I can make a little upward angle with it for the best possible kind of coverage, and then if it gets pushed down, it's whatever. Yeah, 3 centimeter Micro V is the move for this. Yo, we are spoiled as shit. We got some really good options in Tiny Whoop antennas right now, which is amazing. Get your antenna situation locked in, friends. Like, the perfect antenna setup is kind of important, and it's worth like obsessing over, in my opinion. I want to add a little bit of reinforcement to this UFL here. Here's how I prep antennas. Here's how I prep UFL antennas. You cut yourself a little tiny bit of shrimp wrap like this, and then you can stretch it out. If it's a little bit too small, you can just put it on a pair of needle nose pliers and just stretch it out a little bit. Now it's going to fit over the UFL a little bit easier. And then you put it right here, right in between the UFL and the wire. And you butt it right up against the head of the UFL. And so you put it right here. Okay. And you put it just like that. You put it in position right there. Not like that. Not like that. Push it all the way up. It's going to shrink. Right? And so push it all the way up. Nope. Even farther. Yep. Get it up in there. There it is. That's how I like it. Right? Just like that. And so now, you won't believe how much strength this adds to like the weakest part of the UFL kind of setup. And so now we shrink it down and it turns into that. And it just rules. It looks good. It protects it quite a bit. And if you use smaller shrink wrap that you have to stretch with your pliers, it'll grab onto this wire, right? Like, shrink wrap shrinks up at a ratio of, I believe it's either 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. And so if it's big enough to, without stretching it, if you stretch it, it'll shrink to like 3-to-1 or 4-to-1. But if it's big enough to go over the head of this UFL and then it only shrinks 2 to 1, it's not really going to grab onto this wire. And so do that. And so now, last thing I'm going to do is just to put like a little pre-bend in this, because the UFL port is like offset and there's this screw right next to it. So I want it to be able to go just sort of around there comfortably. So let's just pop this on. And so now I'm going to put, well, I'll do it for you guys. I'm going to put E6000 around there. And so now it sits perfectly like that. Just make a little kind of S-bend to get it sort of centered. And so now here's what I'm going to do with the E6000. You can get these little tubes with the super duper needle tip applicators. I actually wear the nerd goggles for this so that I can see exactly where the UFL is going. The E6000 is going. So we're just going to go onto the PCB so that it adheres to that. And then we're going to go up and around and then down the other side. And now that's going to make like a little drive shaft safety loop around this UFL. You don't need a lot. And that's it. Give that a couple days to cure and it'll be good. And then the other thing I'm going to do, see how it's pooping up? I actually need this to sit down for this UFL, for this to really stick, but we'll handle that in a second. So we're going to do the same thing, just a little up and over. Just making sure to push it down against this plastic so it has something to stick to. Cool. Problem is, now I need to hold this guy down. I think what I'm going to do is just flip this upside down. I think that should... Let's see. Yep, good to go. I flipped it upside down over there. And so now it's pushing down on the ORT. And that's all I wanted. Sweet. Good to go. All better. And now you got to clean the tip of this damn thing off before you put the little needle tip back in there. Let me take care of that real quick. And then we can move on to the CineSplore. There's just a little dead fly sitting in this garbage can. Just like, I was alive and now I'm not because I'm an asshole and I don't do anything good for the earth. Other than feed spiders. You jerk. Go to hell, fly. That was a bit much. Didn't need to be quite that aggressive. Uriel says, smear it on Teddy. Smear what on Teddy? You Can FPV says, you ever try out Quicksilver? I did. It's just like all of the other sort of Betaflight knockoff firmware. It's okay. But it's Betaflight. Betaflight with a bunch of names changed and usually like 1 or 2 different things. They're not better, they're just different. Betaflight has all of the info, all of the tuning stuff. Like it's hard not to run Betaflight with how much info there is out there about it and with how good it is, right? So we need to get this guy mounted. Yeah, that's all we're gonna really have time to do. So we need some M2 hardware, which is in this little stash here. So we're going to do M2 and then we're going to do some spacers. So one of the things on this frame is that you've got press nuts with screws sticking through them on here. And so we need to space this thing up so that these screws aren't pushing into the flight controller, and that looks not flight controller, the VTX. And so that looks like I'm gonna need about 2 or 3 millimeters of spacing here. I wonder if I wonder if there's a slightly shorter. Let me try something real quick. I want to see if if I can run a slightly shorter screw in here that doesn't poke up quite as much, because that is absolutely like the highest point there. Oh boy. Apparently I use my pinky quite a bit when I crank on these screwdrivers. All right, so let's go 1 millimeter shorter if possible. Here's the M3 stash. I gotta put some stickers on this M3 stash. It's looking a little naked. So this is where we're at. I think this is an M3 by 9. This looks to be a little bit longer. It is. So that would mean that this screw is an M3 by 8, probably. Yep. Well, is it? Hold on. Boy, that's hard to tell. Yep. That's an M3 by 8. And so here, this is going to be too short, because this is going to be 2 millimeters shorter. Let's just check it, though. It might work. Let's see. Let's try it. And so I'm going to screw it in relatively tight. And then, oh yeah, we're fine. We're fine. So one of the things that makes this nice about the through holes is that you can see how much thread engagement you've got. And so you can see that the screw is engaging with all of the threads of the press nut. We don't have to have that extra sticking out there. So yeah, that should be that's like right on the edge. Like I would love to have like a 0.5 millimeter extra, but that is fine. That's going to be just fine. And I didn't even crank it. So once I crank this screw a little bit tighter, it'll poke through just a little tiny bit more. Let me see if I can get some M2 screws that don't stick up as much, because those M2 screws are now going to be the low point. And so, yeah, let's get that figured out. While I'm doing this, I'm going to bust out the Loctite, because I do want to Loctite this stuff. And all right, so I don't love that that's a socket-headed screw. Do I have a? I do. So here's a button head M3 by 7. Please tell me I have one more. I do. Oh, but that's a different color. Can't have that. Hold on. I'm digging through the stash, baby. Come on. Give me another button head, you bastards. Gimme! Give me another button head. I don't have to change them in the front, because in the front there is no there's no conflict. Wow, 3 different colored M3 by 7 screws. Are you kidding me? There's got to be 2 that are the same. Please! Really? These are all the rest that I have are socket-headed. That's absolutely insane. But these 2 are at least sort of black. So those 2 guys. Now we're gonna take a look at these M2s. These are the little details that kind of matter. I mean, if you're gonna fly a rig freestyle and just smash it into shit, yeah, I mean, you could make an argument that this is being a bit insane. But for like a cinematic rig that it kind of pays to be perfect, you should do this kind of stuff. You should get this deep into the weeds and get these things to be perfect, in my opinion. Okay, so let's see. If I can get 1 millimeter shorter, that would be, it appears just about perfect. So let's get this off this driver, put these guys back. And this looks like it's about like a M2x8 is going to be my guess. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Perfect. So that means an M2x7 is going to be just right. And I'm going to use a socket-headed. With M2s, I really do prefer to use socket-headed hardware. It really helps it not strip out quite as easily. So, hooray, we're good. I will put one of these through before I Loctite it. Well, fuck it. I'll throw some Loctite on it. It's fine. All right. Because I'm pretty sure this is going to be the exact right length. And so let's get this guy going. And we'll just take a quick look to make sure there's enough thread engagement. These, oh yeah, it's perfect. I'm actually going to crank it down. There we go. All right. And so this is what that guy looks like. Kind of the same deal. It's like just enough. I would love another fraction of a millimeter, but that should be plenty of engagement. These press nuts, you got to be a little. You have to make. They're not that thick. They're. You can absolutely strip them out. And so you got to be a little bit careful with that. But you'll be all right. Just look at it. And that's my advice. Just look at it. Real crackerjack advice I'm giving today. All right. Here's this. And if there's nothing conflicting, like if this VTX wasn't hanging up on the tops of these screws, I would not be doing this. Like in the front, I have the screws that are peeking through too far, but the ESC is sitting up on big tall grommets and it's coming nowhere near them. So like whatever, I don't care in the front. I can have that little bit of extra screw sticking through and it's not causing a problem. In the back here though, it is causing a problem. So I'm going to deal with it. I'm not just going to ignore it. I'm not just going to lift the VTX up even farther. I'm going to deal with the issue and yeah. This is what turns a good rig into a great rig. Stuff like this. And so, like, while you're building, might as well do it right. You know? What do you guys think about this camera angle? It's kind of cool, I think. You get to see the stuff that I usually do, like, off camera a little bit to the left. Okay. I think I do need to lift this angle up a little bit, though. Just tilt it up. All right. Locked in. So let's go like that, just a little bit. BMS Spade says Bamboo has a 3D print that helps with screw sizes. Bardwell had it in one of his videos. It's super funny that you mentioned that because I didn't see it on Joshua's. I didn't see it on Joshua's live stream, but I just happened to be farting around on Thingiverse the other day, and I found a bunch of 3D prints to help with sizing M2 and M3 screws. And so I'm going to print each one of these out and figure out which one's the best. These are the 3 ones that look the best. I'm going to try those out. That's absolutely ridiculous that you just happened to mention that today. I think it was like literally 2 nights ago that I was farting around and realized that that was a thing that I could print. I'll tell you what, man, it's pretty nice to have a 3D printer. It's yeah, it is nice. It does take some time there, and I do struggle with getting obsessed with it, to be dead honest. But yeah, it's nice to have. Very, very, very nice to have. Like exactly what I thought was going to happen did happen, and I do have to like. I do go down the rabbit hole and I have to stop myself, and it's like, easy, brother, easy. You're an FPV pilot, not a 3D printing donkey. But I find it, I can get a handle on it. It ain't that bad. Yeah, these should be just the right length. Let's see. Sometimes between a button head and a socket head, one of them will be like that extra 0.5 millimeter longer or shorter. These button heads might be a little bit shorter. I hope not, but they might be. Let's take a look. I want to crank them down because I want to see where they're at. Nah, this is perfect. Beautiful. All right, let's yank this other one. And swap it out. I've had to shit this entire live stream. I hope you guys appreciate my my dedication to the craft. All right. If you appreciate my dedication to the live stream, head on over to CiottiFPV.com and join my Patreon. Join my Pooptreon. Jesus. There we go. And there we go. All right, so now we got a little bit more space to play with. That's pretty rad. Now I got to find the right length M2 hardware, and it's not going to be M2 by 8. So let's try M2 by 10. Let's try that first. It's probably not going to be M2 by 10. No, it's not going to be M2 by 10. Let's go directly to M2 by 12. Is that by 12? Oh, it's not going through the butt. Okay, no, I was wrong. It might be M2 by 8. Let's see, because it doesn't have to go through the the arms. It just has to go through the bottom and then through the little spacer I'm gonna put. That's actually gonna be too long. It's gonna be closer to like M2 by 6, I think. Okay. I think it's M2 by 6. I'm gonna throw it in here. No, I'm not. Thread it through there. Okay, and so thread it through there until it bottoms out. There it is. Okay, get these out of here. And now I need a little M2 2mm spacer. You could absolutely use an M2 lock nut, but I have these really cool little anodized spacers that are just beautiful, and I have a bunch of them. So let's grab a purple one. They're just tiny little fellas. I'll show you in a second. Move this out of the way so I don't accidentally knock it on the floor, which unbelievably hasn't happened in 10 years of doing this. All right, so here it goes on. Just spin it down, make sure it's against the carbon fiber. Come on. It's funny, this is like hands down the most tedious part of these builds, and it always takes an outrageously long amount of time to do this part of the build. So there you go. There's the little 2mm anodized spacer. Pyrodrone actually sells these. And they're really nice. They sell 2mm and they also sell 5mm. And I have a bunch of each in the little stash here. 5mm on the left there, and then the 2mm in the middle right. So now we need to just drop this down and thread it into the hole and see how low this VTX gets. And see where it bottoms out. See if this screw bottoms out before it hits the spacer. Nah. That is perfect. So what was that? M2 by 6? It's not bottoming out. Oh yeah. I could just leave it like this. It would actually mount up on the single because it's bottoming out on the spacer and it's totally holding it. Look at that. Yo, and I got a bunch of space up on top of it, little air gap on the bottom for it to stay cold. Perfect. M2 by 6 and then 2mm spacer. And it threads into the top of the 04 Pro case without bottoming out. I can also tell that it's not bottoming out by the fact that this doesn't want to rotate. If it were bottoming out in that hole, there would be no friction between the case and that spacer, and this would easily rotate, but this is held in really nice. So that's absolutely perfect. M2 by 6, and then the little purple glip glops is the combo. Hell yeah. That's incredibly satisfying. M2 by 6, what do you got for me? You got 4 of the same? Why are there so many conicals in here? I'm not going to use button heads. I am going to use conicals. 1, 2... I'm sorry, I'm going to use socket head rather. 3. I'm definitely not going to use conicals. 4. Okay, that's 4 of the same. That means I have to remove this one. This one that I used is a wacky screw. But I should be able to just zip it out real quick. Yeah. Spacer. Excellent. FPV Cycle tends to undersize the screw holes in their frames so that the screw will thread into the carbon fiber, which I think I do like. Sometimes it's kind of a pain in the ass. If it's ever a pain in the ass, you can just crank it and you'll open up the carbon fiber enough to where it's not like that. If they were to oversize them, you wouldn't be able to do that, right? You would be like stuck with them oversized. So I do agree with the decision to undersize the holes, and then if you don't want them undersized, you can just break it loose. And so yeah, that's one of those like little tiny things that nobody ever thinks or talks about, but that FPV Cycle does that I've always kind of dug. And nope, that one's a little too small. There's 2 different manufacturers of these little spacers. There we go. There's 4 of the same. Cool. Good to go. That's how that guy's gonna mount. I will give you the satisfaction of me doing this. I think it would be kind of rude not to. What's happening here? Can I just? I can. Can I just spin this in to just temporarily kind of hold it? Nope. That's okay. All right. Yeah, it also kind of helps with like right now, I can just thread these screws in a little bit and they'll kind of stay. If the screws were oversized, they would want to. If the screw holes were oversized, they would want to kind of fall out. So it's kind of nice in this respect. Once you put the screws in a couple times in a row, it opens them up anyway. But yeah, it's just one of those little things. Dave S. says, printing stakes to hold garden watering tubing down right now. Nice. Okay. That one. I have to do all 4 of these first because the spacers. I gotta make sure I get the spacers on these before I then screw it into the VTX. So there's that. All right. One of the other options would be I could forego the spacers and then like layer up a bunch of the heat transfer tape, and then make like a pad with the heat transfer tape in the front and behind these lock washers, but and then just pull the VTX down with no spacers here. But like, I don't know, the O4 seems to deal with heat management pretty well and like throttle itself down, and so this should be okay. I think this will be fine. And like that would make me worried that I would kind of pull the O4 down too hard and it hits the press nuts and something weird happens. This is going to be a bit of a safer kind of setup here. All right, so let's spin that spacer down and then crank it down a little bit. Don't want to make it too tight, just tight enough. Okay. I'll admit there's not a ton of thread that's going to be engaging with the O4 case, but there will be. I am using 4 screws, so should be okay. Hopefully it's okay. And now I'm not going to like crank these spacers down against the bottom plate because I got to make sure that these screws will still spin, so that I can thread it into the O4 case. Come on, you little bastard. There we go. But I am snugging them up a little bit because I want the spacer to pull down against the carbon fiber. I don't want there to be a gap between the spacer and the carbon fiber. That's the kind of thing that can cause like rattles, and that's the thing that can make your PID tune go ape shit. So again, the devil's in the details with this kind of stuff. If you want, for a cinematic build, it makes sense to do this, right? Like you're not going to be taking it apart very often, so spend the extra time on the front, get it built perfect, Loctite stuff. I should maybe have Loctited these, but these little spacers will act as kind of like locking rings in a way. So, all right, we got this and this. I'm just routing this wire in a way that'll keep it somewhat tight. And then we've got this here. And so now we're going to just screw a little bit at a time here to make sure we don't bring it in at like a jaunty ass angle. Couple turns on each. And this thing will be locked down. Okay, come on, get off of there. This is nice, man. This is really nice that they put these threaded holes on this O4 case. That really feels like DJI actually listening to FPV pilots. You know what I mean? There we are. Oh shit! This thing is going in here super crooked. Those back screws were not threading when I thought they were threading. Hold up. Ah, there it is. There we go. That's better. Okay. I wasn't looking down at it to be able to see that it wasn't going. Much better now. Let's put my finger in there to get that spacer to clamp down. I'll do it again here. When I loosen the screws up, the spacers kind of moved a little bit. Once the VTX pulls down into the spacer, it should hold them in place, and then they'll tighten down. There we go. Why is this one getting so hard to turn? the hell's going on here? Oh, it was cross-threaded. Was it? Oh, no, it's, yeah. There we go. That one was sitting up. Yeah, there we go. That's the first one to tighten down. Back one here. This is when I'm happy that I used socket-headed screws, because I'm having to put a little bit of force into these. Button heads feel like they're always like one turn away from stripping out with the M2s. M3 button heads are totally fine, but the M2 button heads are, I'm always like a little bit suspect of. There we go. That one's now locked down. That one feels good. Back one. And then the problem child here. There it is. Cool. Give these spacers a little poke to make sure they're not rattly and loose. And there it is. That is locked down nice and tight, super secure, and easily removable, right? Like the VHB thing, I totally understand it, but on screws, like if I need to pop it off of there, I just unscrew it and then put it back on. I don't have to fuck around with like reapplying VHB. God forbid I have to like repair, work on it when I'm out. If the VHB gets kind of like messy or and won't re-stick, I'm probably not going to have VHB with me in the field. You know what I mean? I really prefer to screw stuff down when I can. Just go around one more time. Make sure that the spacers are locked down. There we go. Awesome. One step closer. Yeah, next thing I have to do is desolder all these motor wires and reverse them, which is like heartbreaking. But it's going to be better in that orientation, so I'm going to do it. I'm just not going to do it right now because I got to go get something to eat and then go to dance class. But I'm going to put this right like this to remind myself that that's the next step. Because I keep going back and forth and changing my mind, and that's silly. I need to stop doing that. And just knock it out. Thanks for hanging, friends. BMF Spade says, looks good. That's how I do my 04 Pros. Love it. Bob Ruge sent me a frame to try out. It's one of his new frames. He's been messing with the H design in his last video. Yeah, him and I have been talking about that H design. Zach says, do you think a 75mm build with the new 2S HD0 AIO would be light enough to use 802 motors? Absolutely. If you're not carrying around 7-8 extra grams of digital VTX with longer screws, yeah, totally fine. That new HD0 AIO will make an awesome 2S 75mm shred machine. You will love the way that thing flies, man. My X12 analog 2S 75s are some of the best flying things that I've got. Power to weight ratio, the lightness, the runtime, it's just insane. What just happened? There we go. BMO Spade with the last comment live stream, he says Bamboo has M2 to M6 4mm to 66mm. Yeah, that's I actually found one. I really want one that goes down all the way down to M1.2. But I was able to find one that does. I couldn't find M1.2, but I did find one that's M1.6. See it at the top there? So this one goes all the way down to M1.6. I think I'm going to like this one. Again, I wish that I'd also found one that does lengths down to 3mm, but this is 4mm. And so if it's a little bit shorter than 4, it's 3. I think this is going to be the one. It looks pretty small too. I love that it has M1.6. This one's a bit overkill. I don't need something that's this long, but this one does go down to M1.6. I think this is the same guy that does this one. It's just an extended, bigger version. And then, oh yeah, that's the new. We've got a new. We're playing around with putting the Flywoo bayonet mount on the Batwing so that you can run the Flywoo ND filters on the Batwing. It's gonna make it awful nose heavy, but we're playing around with it. We'll see how that goes. Thanks for hanging, friends. I'll see you tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. And head on over to CiottiFPV.com and support me. Love you. Appreciate all the support that you guys do give me. It's been pretty cool being able to do this with the collective. Be good, friends. I love you. Bye. Come on. There we
Bye.